I was feeding my baby at 3 a.m. when my mother-in-law banged on the door and screamed, "You're raising him all wrong." My husband just pulled the covers over his head. I sat there crying with my baby in my arms. But when I called the family doctor the next morning and he pulled me aside, we'd been back from the hospital for about 3 weeks when it happened. I hadn't slept more than 2 hours in a row since giving birth.
My whole body ached.
My nipples were cracked and bleeding. My stitches were sore every time I sat down, and I was always sweating through my clothes from the night sweats. No one warned me it would be like this. No one helped either. We live in Naperville, Illinois, in a small rental duplex. Nothing fancy, just 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and a creaky floor that wakes the baby every time someone moves. I tried to keep the place warm, but the windows are old and drafty. Oliver, our newborn, cried a lot at night. He had trouble latching, and every feeding felt like a fight. I was trying to breastfeed because everyone said it was best, but it felt like I was failing at everything. Kyle, my husband, had been distant since Oliver was born. Before, he used to talk about being a dad like it was some dream of his. He was the one who wanted to start trying. I was nervous, but he kept saying it would bring us closer, that we'd be a real family. But once I got pregnant, everything changed. He didn't come to all my prenatal appointments. Said work was crazy at the shop. When I had morning sickness, he told me to stop complaining. He slept in another room during my 3rd trimester because I snored too loud and moved around too much. And when I went into labor, he was 2 hours late getting to the hospital. Claimed he had to stop at his mom's first because she was worried. His mom,
Diane.
She hated me from the second Kyle brought me home. I wasn't classy enough. I didn't come from a good family. My parents are divorced, my mom lives in a trailer park, and I work part-time at a daycare. Diane never let me forget it. She made comments at holidays. She'd bring over food I didn't ask for and tell me not to cook. She once threw away my prenatal vitamins because she didn't trust chemicals. And then, when I offered to let her stay with us for a few nights after her basement flooded, biggest mistake I ever made. It was 3 a.m. I was sitting in the rocking chair, holding Oliver to my chest, trying not to cry while he screamed. My breasts were leaking. I smelled like milk and sweat. I was beyond exhausted. And then I heard her. A loud, hard knock on the bedroom door. Then banging. "You're doing it wrong," she screamed through the door. "That's why he's crying. You're going to mess up his stomach. I told you not to hold him like that." I froze. I looked over at the bed. Kyle was laying there, wide awake. I saw him pull the blanket over his head. He didn't say a word. I whispered, "Can you get your mom, please?" Nothing. Diane barged in. She was in her pajamas, hair in a bun, eyes wild like she hadn't slept either. "I told you. Prop him up. Jesus, what is wrong with you? He's gonna have reflux forever." I just sat there in silence, trying to soothe Oliver, who was still wailing. Tears started falling down my face, but I didn't even notice at first. I was too tired to respond. Too numb. She stood there a few more minutes, ranting about how I needed to let her take over, how I was doing everything wrong, how I should have never tried to breastfeed because I clearly didn't know how. Eventually, she left, slamming the door behind her. I held Oliver for another hour until he finally drifted off. Then I sat there, still rocking, and cried harder than I ever had. I didn't know what to do. I felt like no one saw me, like I was already failing as a mom. That morning, I called our family doctor and said something felt off with Oliver's stomach. I made up a reason just so I could go in. I needed someone to tell me I wasn't going insane. Dr. Alpert checked him out, and Oliver was fine.
Healthy. Just colicky.
But then he asked me to step into the hallway. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You look dangerously tired. Your blood pressure is high. Are you okay at home?" And I just broke. I told him everything. About the nights alone. The screaming mother-in-law. Kyle pretending to sleep through it all. The way I felt like a stranger in my own home. That's when he said something I'll never forget. "You don't need permission to protect yourself and your baby." Those words stuck. They sat in my head for days. I started thinking, If Kyle won't stand up for me, if his mother thinks she runs this house, then I have to stop playing nice. I have to protect my baby, even if it means turning this whole family upside down. And I was going to, slowly, quietly, in a way no one saw coming. After that appointment, something inside me shifted. I didn't explode. I didn't scream at Kyle or Diane. I knew that wouldn't change anything. They'd just twist it to make me look crazy or emotional. That's how it always went. But I stopped pretending. The next morning, when Diane came into the kitchen and started criticizing how I was washing the bottles, I just walked away. I took Oliver into the bedroom and locked the door. She knocked. I didn't answer. That afternoon, Kyle came home and asked why I was being weird. I told him straight. Your mom is not allowed in the nursery. She's not helping. She's hurting. He rolled his eyes and said, You're overreacting again. She's just trying to help. I asked him one question. Would you let my mom come into our room at 3 a.m. and scream at you? He didn't answer. I started documenting everything. Quietly. I took photos of Diane barging in, recorded short audio clips of her ranting, and kept a log of every time Kyle ignored me or left me alone with Oliver for hours. I called a lawyer during one of Oliver's naps. Just a free consult, but I asked about custody, about rental agreements, about what happens if I leave and take the baby. The lawyer said something I already suspected. Unless I could prove neglect or abuse, Kyle would still get some custody. Maybe even unsupervised. That terrified me more than anything, because Kyle wasn't violent, but he was careless. Checked out. He once left Oliver's bottle in the microwave for 5 minutes and said he forgot it was in there. He never woke up for feedings. He never changed a diaper unless I asked 3 times. And Diane? She was already calling Oliver her baby, posting pictures of him online with captions like, my sweet boy, Nana's favorite little man. She never asked before posting.
Never tagged me.
Then it got worse. One night, I found out she'd taken Oliver out of his crib while I was asleep and brought him into her room. She wanted to bond. I woke up to an empty crib and panicked. I thought he was gone. I started screaming. When I found her rocking him in the living room, she looked at me like I was the problem. He was fine. You need sleep, sweetie. That's when I started planning for real. I reached out to a women's support group in Chicago, told them what was happening. They connected me to a counselor and a caseworker. I didn't know what I was going to do yet, but I knew I needed proof. I needed a plan that would work in court, not just in my heart. Then Kyle did the thing that broke everything wide open. He put Diane on Oliver's birth certificate. Without telling me, he claimed it was a clerical thing, that he just thought it would help for emergencies. I called the hospital, and they confirmed it. Kyle had filed a form that listed Diane as a secondary guardian. Not legal custody, but enough to raise questions. I felt sick. I went into the bathroom, locked the door, sat on the floor, and held Oliver to my chest. I knew then, this wasn't just about me being tired or disrespected. They were slowly pushing me out of my own child's life. And if I didn't act soon, I'd lose him. I wasn't just going to leave. I was going to make sure they'd never forget what they tried to do to me. After I found out Diane's name was on that form, something shifted in my gut. I knew this was more than toxic in-laws or a checked-out husband. They were setting me up. I started digging. One night, while Kyle was in the shower and his phone was charging on the dresser, I opened it. He didn't have a passcode. Maybe he was just careless, or maybe he didn't think I had the nerve anymore. There were texts between him and Diane. Long ones. She was calling me unstable, saying things like, if she keeps acting like this, we might have to step in legally. I don't trust her with the baby. You need to document this stuff, Kyle. And Kyle? He was agreeing. Yeah, I've been keeping notes. She's not sleeping. She cries all the time. They were building a case against me. My heart was pounding. I took screenshots of everything, emailed them to myself from a hidden account I made just for this. I forwarded the hospital form. I saved voice memos of Diane screaming at me from the baby monitor. I even started filming my night routines, feeding, changing, rocking Oliver, just so I could prove I was doing it all. Then something strange happened. Kyle's hours at the auto shop suddenly got cut. He blamed the economy, said they weren't getting enough business. I asked for proof. He got angry, said I didn't trust him. But then Diane showed up 2 days later with a brand new car. I figured Kyle could use it, she said, smirking. He's doing so much for the family. I knew she was bankrolling him, keeping him loyal, probably paying some of the rent too, because Kyle hadn't asked me for money in weeks, even though I wasn't working anymore. They were closing ranks, planning something. Then one afternoon, I caught Diane in Oliver's room while I was doing laundry. She had her phone out. I walked in just as she was saying, "See? The crib's a mess again. She leaves stuff everywhere. Poor thing doesn't even have socks on." She was filming me. I lost it. I grabbed her phone and told her to get out. I said if she ever took a video of my baby without my consent again, I'd press charges. She laughed and said, "You're in no shape to be making threats, sweetheart." That night, Kyle screamed at me, said I was being crazy, said I shoved his mother and made her cry. I didn't shove her. I took her phone and told her to leave. But that's when I realized they weren't just trying to gaslight me. They were trying to build a case for custody. They wanted to take my baby. So I did something I didn't want to do. I called my father. We hadn't spoken much in years. He left when I was 9, moved to Texas, started a new family. But he picked up. I told him everything. I cried so hard I could barely get the words out. He said, "You come stay with us. I'll fly you out. Don't even think about it." It was the first lifeline I'd had in months. But I knew I couldn't just disappear. That would make me look unstable. It would play right into their narrative. I needed more. I needed something solid that couldn't be twisted. So I went back to Dr. Alpert and told him everything. He agreed to write a formal letter. He documented my visits, my mental health, the support group, the recordings. He even referred me to a family lawyer who specialized in high-conflict custody. That lawyer gave me a plan, and every part of it led to one thing, a takedown they wouldn't see coming. The lawyer gave me 3 steps. Document everything. Secure housing out of state. File for emergency custody before they could make the first move. I followed it like gospel. Over the next 2 weeks, I played nice. I didn't argue. I let Diane walk around like she still ran the place. I even let Kyle sleep in the bed again. I didn't speak much, just smiled and nodded. Every minute I spent in that house, I felt sick, but I knew it was almost over. I kept logging everything. Photos, texts, video clips. I even got Diane on camera yelling that Oliver was better off with someone who knew what they were doing. I had the paperwork ready. My dad bought us 2 plane tickets to Austin. One for me, one for Oliver. I had a place to stay, a lawyer in Texas on standby, and a doctor's note backing my health and fitness as a mother. Then came the final trigger. One morning, I woke up to find Diane holding Oliver in the kitchen and giving him formula. He was allergic. We'd just found out the week before. The rash on his face was instant. I rushed over, grabbed him out of her arms, and screamed, "What are you doing?" She said, "He was hungry." I didn't think a little would hurt. I nearly collapsed. That afternoon, I filed the emergency custody petition. I included medical notes, video evidence, Diane's interference, Kyle's neglect, and Dr. Alpert's sworn statement. The lawyer filed it at the DuPage County Courthouse within hours. The judge granted temporary emergency custody to me alone, citing interference, safety concerns, and documented neglect. The order barred Kyle and Diane from removing Oliver from my care. That same night, while Kyle was at work, I packed everything. Just the essentials, clothes, birth certificate, Oliver's medical file, my documents, and the court order. I left a printed copy of a judge's ruling on the kitchen table. Then I left. By the time Kyle got home, we were already at O'Hare. I didn't tell him we were flying out until we'd landed in Austin. My father met us at the gate. He took one look at me, hollow eyes, trembling hands, holding Oliver close, and wrapped me in the first real hug I'd had in years. Kyle called me 23 times that night. He left screaming voicemails, accusing me of kidnapping, threatening lawyers, saying Diane was heartbroken. But I had everything in writing. I had a court order. I was already talking to a Texas lawyer about filing for permanent full custody across state lines under the UCCJA. A week later, I got a call from my old lawyer in Naperville. Kyle tried to file for custody, but his petition was rejected. The judge reviewed the evidence. The video, the hospital record of the formula allergy, the screenshots of him and Diane plotting to paint me as unstable, and denied him any unsupervised visitation. Diane was officially labeled a risk and banned from being alone with Oliver. Kyle blew up online, posted long rants on Facebook about how I stole his son, how I brainwashed the courts. But the comments didn't go how he wanted. People asked why he let his mother control his house, why he didn't support me during postpartum, why he didn't even try to be a father. Diane tried to reach out through mutual friends, claimed she was misunderstood, said she only wanted to help. I ignored every word. 3 months later, I filed for divorce in Texas. My father helped pay for it. When the final custody ruling came down, the judge said it clearly: full custody to me. Kyle may petition for supervised visitation, but only after completing a court-mandated parenting course, providing financial support, and demonstrating independence from his mother. It's been over a year now. Kyle hasn't seen Oliver since. He never took the parenting course. He still lives with Diane.
Me?
I have a job at a preschool in Austin. My dad helps with childcare. I'm not rich. I'm not healed. But I'm free. And my son is safe. That's my revenge. Not screaming. Not burning it all down. Just taking back what they tried to steal. And making damn sure they never get near us again.